Hey everybody, today I want to talk about parts and consumables for Woodland Mills sawmill. And the reason I'm making this video is kind of two-part. First, I've gotten a lot of questions from viewers about parts availability for these mills. I think a lot of people are concerned. If you're in the US, a lot of people think, well, this is a Canadian company and components for this mill are made in China. Can you get parts for it if you need to? And then the other reason is I've heard a lot of people kind of talking up some of the U.S. brands like Wood-Mizer and Norwood, which, by the way, they make great sawmills. But saying, well, hey, if I need a part for my Wood-Mizer, I can go straight to the company and get the part, and it's real easy. That kind of led me to think, well, this is probably something that'd be good to talk about in the video, and what I'm going to talk about kind of hits at both of those points, and the situation is actually probably much better than you would think. So the first thing I want to point out is that Woodland Mills, they're a Canadian company. I can tell that the owners of the company are engineers because they did a really good job designing this mill and engineering it, and then writing the technical documentation. They have really great exploded parts drawings, and you can look up any of the parts and go back to a list and find out what it is, what it's called. That might help you determine that you can get it from somewhere else other than Woodland Mills. And so I got to give them a lot of credit for having a really thorough operator's manual with that good documentation. By the way, they also have very detailed blueprints of their mills available on the website, and also these manuals are available on the website. So you don't even have to buy a mill if you just want to go to their website and learn about this stuff before you make your purchase decision. All that information is open and available, and I'd encourage anybody shopping for a mill to do that, regardless of the company you're looking at. See what kind of documentation is online and what you can learn about the mill beforehand. But I want to focus today on some of the consumable parts, because when you're running a sawmill, stuff wears out. You'll be changing things on a routine basis, and it's good to have kind of a little inventory of some of these common parts on hand so that you don't really have any downtime. And like I said in one of my earlier videos, before I do any sawing, every time I come out here to the mill, I go through pretty much a standard starter procedure where I check the belts, tension the blade, rotate it, make sure everything's tracking, check my guides and the bearings. And it's good to get into that practice. You're going to start to see things that, maybe they're not worn out now, but you'll know, hey, next time I saw, I'm going to need to put a new belt on. And so it's good to kind of really get a good relationship with your mill and keep an eye on the wear parts. So in terms of the main wear parts for these mills, I've made a list of most of those items over here, and I want to talk about them. So the drive belt, that's one you probably want to have spares of. The drive belt on this type of sawmill, in addition to transmitting power from the engine and clutch to that drive wheel, it also serves as kind of the bearing surface for the blade as it goes around that wheel. And so this is going to wear out more than just a typical drive belt would, because it's supporting the blade. The blade's under tension. This belt has a lot of load on it beyond what belts normally handle. Well, that belt, that's a standard automotive style BX belt. In this case, it's a 71. The 71 is the length. You can get these at pretty much any auto parts store. You can get them online. I ordered a pack of 3 of them. I think I paid about $5 a piece. And many different belt companies make BX belts. This is just a very common belt. So not only is this not something you would have to source from Woodland Mills, you can probably get this in your local auto parts store, or order it online and get a pack of them and save a lot of money. The follower belt, and that's the belt over here on this follower wheel. When I bought my mill in 2020, Woodland Mills was using a urethane belt that fits tight into this wheel, and You can get those in a few places. Um, I got a spare one here from a company, Timberwolf. They sell all kinds of supplies for sawmills, including belts and blades. And this type of urethane belt is meant to fit very tightly on the wheel. I mean, you pretty much have to use kind of like a soapy water mix to get it seated. And these are a bear to get on and off, but if you get a good belt and you get it on nice and evenly, I love these things. They last a long time. They hold up well under tension. I find these belts to be really the best option. But in 2021, Woodland Mills started putting a standard BX belt on here. I think they had problems with these belts maybe getting installed unevenly in manufacturing, or maybe they couldn't get the belts. I really don't know the whole story, but they switched to an automotive style belt, again a BX belt. So if you wanted to go to one of those, that's going to be a BX48. Again, that's something you'll find in an auto parts store or readily available online. Now the next one I want to talk about are the guide bearings, and they use hardened steel blocks above and below the blade, but back here there's a ball bearing that the blade doesn't contact routinely, but if you were, say, pushing with a dull blade, or you just put too much effort into it, or maybe you hit a knot and that blade wants to wander back, those bearings back there are going to support it. And that's one of the things you can look up in a parts diagram for the guide blocks, and that's part number 125. And if you come over here in the list, they've got it listed as a 6000-2RS bearing, and I found those on Amazon. I got a 10-pack for like $6. This is also a very extremely common part. You can probably get these in an auto parts store. These are used just for everything. I mean, they're used in bicycle wheels. They're used in automotive pulleys. This is just a very, very common bearing. So again, there's another example of something that is not specific to Woodland Mills. You don't need to get this from them. This is a standard off-the-shelf bearing. You can get these anywhere, and like I said, 10-pack of these on Amazon was about $6. You can't beat that, especially considering this could be a very typical wear item for some people. If someone is frequently cutting with a dull blade, or they just really push on their mill hard, they're going to wear these out pretty quick. I'm still on my original pair of bearings, but I got these just to have on hand because I know one day those are going to wear out. Okay, so for blades, and again, by the way, when I'm talking to you here specific to the HM-122 sawmill that I have, the bigger mills are going to have different sizes for the belts. I think they use the same bearings for the guides, but they're going to have different size belts. The bigger mills are also going to have longer blades, but for the HM-122, this is a 125-inch blade, 1¼ inch wide, 42 thousandths thick. I happen to like 7/8 10-degree blades, but there's a couple different options for the tooth sizing and tooth pitch that you can choose based on the type of wood you're sawing. But this is, again, pretty standard off-the-shelf bandsaw blade. You can buy these from Woodland Mills, but I've also seen them from Cook's, from Jerry's Resharp, from Wood Miser, and from about a half a dozen other companies that supply blades for sawmills or bandsaws. And so that's another, pretty generic item, not specific to this mill. Generally, you're going to expect to pay, I think, about $12 to $15 for one of these blades, and normally you'll get these in a 5-pack or a 10-pack, and that's not too expensive, to be honest. I mean, one of the best ways you can keep your sawmill performing, well, is to use a sharp blade. If you start to feel it, get dull, just change it out. Because if you push too hard on a dull blade, you're going to risk all kinds of other problems. Your cut quality is going to deteriorate. And so, to me, this is an easy way to keep your mill performing top condition, is just always run a sharp blade. I think I have about I have a stash of about, I don't know, 12 or 15 blades. I have 5 of those are still brand new in the box. What I normally do is when I, get through about 10 of them, I'll send those out to be resharpened and then crack into a new box. And, depending on the economics and supply and demand of blades and stuff like that, I might order more new ones just to have. But this is not a place to cut corners. If you want to kind of take the luxury route with your sawmill, always have sharp blades on hand. It'll make everything go smoother. Then the last consumable I want to talk about is the lubricant. Some people don't run any. I think it's important to run something. At a minimum, you want to run straight water. It helps cool the blade. It'll help clear sawdust off the blade, and it will help lubricate the blade as it goes through the wood. If you have sappy wood with a lot of pitch in it, it's going to help there. And having a teeny little bit of soap is very beneficial. So in summer months, I use straight up water with a couple drops of Johnson's baby shampoo. And I use that shampoo for a lot of really oddball projects. It's not super high sudsing. It's not super slippery. It's just a very gentle soap that, cuts through stuff without, turning into a car wash with bubbles everywhere. So that's what I use in the summer. In the winter, I use washer fluid. Typically, I look for a sale on that, and I can normally buy that between $1.50 and $2 a gallon when it's on sale, and just keep that on hand for the winter. It's just a really, really good choice for winter months when temperatures drop below freezing. So that's pretty much it for the consumable parts. So I want to go back to a comment I heard where someone said, well, I can buy all, I have a wood miser, I can buy all my parts from them. Well, you don't need to. Even a wood miser has some very standard parts, and it'd be silly to think you have to buy some of these parts from any mill company, whether it's Wood Miser, Norwood, or Woodland Mills. And so hopefully you got an idea of that in today's video. So many of these parts are generic off-the-shelf parts. You can get them at your auto parts store, on Amazon, outdoor power equipment dealers. I mean, it's really simple to keep these mills running in top shape and to get parts in. So if you're getting one of these mills, I encourage you to go through, this list, look through the parts description in the owner's manual, and set yourself up with a little kit of consumables and spare parts so that when the time comes, you'll have this stuff ready and you won't have any downtime. Well, that's it for today. Thanks for watching.